I actually want to talk about someone else real quick that's extremely consistent in the Bitcoin space, and that is Mo Levin. I've been privileged to be a speaker at this conference since its inception, and I think anyone that's been here before and that's enjoying this conference can say that this is by far the most consistent, great experience of a Bitcoin conference in the entire cryptocurrency space. So if we get a round of applause for Mo Levin. Love you to death, man. Anyway, so yeah, I've been around the crypto space for a while, and if you've met me, pretty much what I like to do is I like to feed people with Bitcoin. I really just like to feed people, and I've been doing homeless outreach using cryptocurrencies since about 2013. We have this problem in the United States, and a lot of people don't realize that we have it, or maybe you do realize it, but you don't realize the gravity of it. So I'm going to kind of run through it here and then talk about how Unsung tackles it. In the United States, 49 million Americans live in hunger. So that's like 49 million men, women, and children that don't know where their next meal is coming from. And to sort of pour salt in that wound, we also throw away $500 billion, $537 trillion worth of, billion, it's still big, $537 billion worth of food, $500 billion worth of food annually, while we have 50 million Americans living in hunger. So we have millions of Americans that are starving while billions are being thrown into the dumpster. And this just seems really silly. It seems like a really ridiculous problem to have, and that there should be a technological solution to fix that. So that's, at Unsung, that's what we're doing, is we're trying to leverage the sharing economy to end hunger. Now, with Unsung, if you have a restaurant, or you're a grocer, or a caterer, or you just have excess food, you just simply go into the Unsung app, and you tell us what you have. And then we have a volunteer pool of drivers that will get notified that food is available, and they can come pick that food up, and they can take it to somebody in need. Now, we talk about homelessness a lot, like feeding the homeless, but of the 49 million Americans that are living in hunger, only about 3.5 million of them are dealing with homelessness. So we're talking about working poor, or children, the elderly, things like Meals on Wheels, things like that are completely, they're oversaturated, and there's just a lot of people that you don't traditionally think about being in hunger that are dealing with it. And so Unsung will meet all of that. It's not just homeless people, it's just anyone that needs it. We can take that food and we can give it to people that are in need. And so where sort of the cool stuff comes in is that every meal that's donated on Unsung is broadcast on our live feed. So when a meal is handed out, you actually see it. You actually see the picture on a live feed. So if you're providing this food to someone to be fed, you can actually then see that food go out into your community and actually be utilized. So you feel a lot more connected to it. And then on Unsung, and this is sort of where the Bitcoin thing comes in, is that on Unsung, people actually compete to do the most good. We've gamified the app. So people that are delivering, there's a leaderboard, and you can go out and you can find out who are the people doing the most good in your area, who's feeding the most people in your town or your neighborhood. And everybody has their own Bitcoin address on there. And so instead of incentivizing an organization who claims they're doing something, you can incentivize the people that are actually on the ground doing the most work, because you can see the work being done, and you can incentivize that directly with Bitcoin. And so that's what Unsung is. That's the Unsung app. Now, last year, Dean and Steve, my lead dev, and I, we demoed a proof of concept of Unsung here at the Bitcoin conference. And at the time, we had fed a couple of dozen meals across the app. Well, in 2016, we fed 16,137 meals on the Unsung app. And it's great, and it's a large number. It's actually pretty small. Like we didn't do a whole lot. We didn't do a lot of advertising. We did a lot of like sort of focusing on the game metrics and sort of focusing on making the product work well and developing a community. But we've seen sort of this organic meteoric rise basically since February of 2016 in every metric that counts for us. So that would be like members on our platform, donations received and meals fed, we've had about 10% growth week over week for all of 2016. So we're doing fairly well. We started in Baltimore, which is where we're based. And then we had this serendipitous thing where Austin came on board. Essentially, if you're familiar with the project Arcade City, I was on a cryptocurrency show. Actually, I was on the Crypto Show with Danny Sessoms, who might actually be in the audience. I'm not sure. And I was on the show with the CEO of Arcade City, and sort of flippantly, Arcade City is a decentralized Uber or Lyft kind of situation. And Danny said, hey, well, Jason's got the food and you've got the drivers. Why don't you guys get together and then and you can have Arcade City drivers driving around. I thought that was sort of humorous. Didn't really think anything of it. And then the next morning, we had like 100 Arcade City drivers that had signed up to be Unsung drivers in Austin. So very quickly, Unsung got off the ground in Austin as well. And sort of a friendly challenge to our newest market, we said, okay, cool, let's have a race and we'll see who can feed 1,000 meals first. And Baltimore had months of working on the app, and we had a community, and we were like, kind of like the young whippersnappers, we'll give you a good run. Austin beat our ass. They got to 1,000 meals in like a week. It was really, really cool. But more so than that, the communities that organize around this concept, they organically start figuring things out on their own. This is a picture from the Capital Factory in Austin. And the Capital Factory is a co-working space. It's a fantastic co-working space in Austin. And this is a sock drive that Unsung members in Austin took it upon themselves to do. And why a sock drive? Well, I've been working with homeless people for 5 years or so, and I know that the number one article of clothing that a homeless person needs is a sock. Like it's like when you're outside, you're not inside a whole lot. That's where the wear and tear is. It's on your feet, and so your socks wear out a lot. So socks are always in demand. Well, these weren't trained, homeless rights activists. Like, these were just people. But just in interacting with them and in the just sort of natural progression of how Unsung works, they figured that out, and then they figured out that socks would be a good thing, and then on their own, they did a sock drive, and we were actually able to raise a little over 500 socks, and those socks were all passed out to the Unsung network as well. And then the other cool things that have happened in 2016, and we've made a couple of cool corporate sponsors. Groupon, and through their Order Up platform, has reached out to us, and so in the greater Baltimore area, any Groupon restaurant that does a double order on catering or has leftovers, that stuff shows up on the Unsung network and we pick it up, which is fantastic. And then in Seattle, we've actually built a relationship with Soylent. If you know what Soylent is, it's a meal replacement thing. That's Armand, who is our Northwest coordinator for Unsung, and he's a big Soylent guy, and one day when he was out feeding people, he just started feeding Soylent as well, and Soylent saw the pictures of him feeding Soylent and was like, hey, we can just give you guys a bunch of Soylent. And so now, Soylent loves us, and if you check our Twitter feed, Soylent's on there loving the work that we're doing, and it's great. It's been a whole lot of fun. And so we're debuting 2 new concepts for Unsung here at the Miami Bitcoin Conference, the North American Bitcoin Conference. And we're unveiling this push, which we're calling This Meal Matters, which is when you think about this huge problem that we have of 49 million people living in hunger in this country. It seems huge, and it seems like it's going to be this insurmountable thing. But the truth is that we have 350 million people here. In this country, and that we don't need large organizations doing large bureaucratic things. We need us individually taking care of the people in our neighborhood and actually just reaching out. So really, don't think that you have to go out and do, feed 200 meals in a park or something like that to be an important part of Unsung. Really, just one meal. Just like saying, you know what? I know there's a homeless dude down the street. I see him. I'm going to go out and feed him this meal, and I'm going to make sure that once a week I'm going to do that. And if a lot of us start doing that, we can really start taking a much larger chunk out of this problem of hunger. So what we're doing is we're saying take the pledge, which is make the pledge that you'll feed one person, that you'll just you will go out and give a meal to it could be a homeless person, or it could be an elderly neighbor of yours that you know is having a problem getting nutrition. In Baltimore, we have school teachers that actually know that their students aren't eating well because they can tell, and so they actually order meals through Unsung to get their students fed. And any of that would be fantastic, but we don't all have time to participate in it, so we've also added in the ability to sponsor a meal. And so this is basically, you can pick how many meals you want to sponsor, and there's going to be a dollar amount assigned to that. And if you sponsor a meal, when the meal goes out, we will throw your name on that. So that's this meal sponsored by Mycelium, so that's like a corporate sponsorship, and this is like with love from Steve Beauregard, who's a fantastic supporter of Unsung and also the CEO of GoCoin. So you could do that too, because it's always you might not have time, but you have money. Maybe you don't have money, but you have time. Maybe you have a little bit of both. We can do that. And then today, Dash.org has sponsored 200 meals that we're going to be feeding during the Miami Bitcoin conference. So that's some meals that we're doing that are Dash sponsored, and it's just an innovative way to get involved. And so when you sponsor a meal through our platform, you're going to enter an email address associated with the number of meals that you've sponsored, and that email address is going to get the photographic feed of those meals that you sponsored coming back. So you can actually feel it. You can actually see those meals being fed, and actually feel some sort of connection to that happening. And I think that's it. So that's unsung.org, and thank you guys for your time, and enjoy the rest of the North American Bitcoin Conference.